Alright, let's see what it looks like to solve by factoring with something that you're less familiar with. Okay, this is just a different looking example. It's not necessarily tougher or easier than the previous example of factoring and solving. It's just different in the way it looks. Now you'll recognize, hopefully, this problem right here from a previous video. We looked at this thing with 4 terms and we were able to factor by grouping. Remember, we took the first 2 terms and we found what they had in common, which was an x squared, and we took that out and we're left with x minus 4. Then we looked at the other 2 terms and we decided to take out a negative 3, which would make x minus 4 remain. And since these were the same right here, we turned this into x squared minus 3 times x minus 4. Now we haven't really changed this or figured anything out yet at all. All we've done is write this in a different way. Now it is equal to 0. Notice everything had been moved over so that the whole equation was equal to 0. Now if we're going to solve this by factoring, there's an easy part and a more challenging part. Okay, let's start with the easy part. The easy part is to find a grouping that you can solve in your head. And I would look at this one right here. Okay, this isn't too terribly difficult to recognize. What number can we plug in that makes that stuff equal 0? The answer is 4. Okay. Now, that's the easy equation to solve. Now we also have this one over here, which is a little less easy to solve. And you got to remember, equations don't always have nice whole numbers for answers. Sometimes you get decimals and fractions and radicals and all kinds of things you don't know in your head, and that's all right. Doesn't mean it's incorrect. So this is one that I would not expect you to look at and just know the answer to, especially in an exact form. So what we're going to do is say, okay, in the x minus 4 piece, we could figure out what made that equal 0 in our head. This one's a little tougher to figure out in our head, so let's write it out. X squared minus 3 equals 0. And now let's treat this like it's an Algebra 1 problem. Let's try to get x by itself. So I'm going to add 3, which gives me x squared equals 3. And then I'm going to take the square root. And remember, now every time you take a square root while you're solving an equation, there's actually 2 answers. This means x could be positive or negative square root 3. Now that's an irrational number. It's 1.7 something and it just keeps going on forever as a decimal. So let's just leave it in exact form. Let's not try to change it to a decimal. You got to remember though, this little plus or minus, that means there are 2 different answers. So if you look back at this entire polynomial, this happens to have 3 solutions. My solutions to this are x equals 4, square root of 3, and negative square root 3. And it's okay to write it like this also. X equals 4 or plus or minus square root 3, as long as you recognize that the plus or minus means there are 2 different answers there that represent different places on a graph.